what's up you guys? My name is Nadia. This is Nadia Now, and right now I'm going to be telling you 20 lessons I learned in 20 years. If you do not know, I turned 20 on March 20th, but due to some sickness and some finals, I had to postpone this video. But I am so excited to let you know about some lessons that I've learned throughout these 2 decades, and I just want to preface this video by saying these are my own opinions. These lessons are things I've observed, is advice I've been given, but really just take this with a grain of salt. Also, even though I've learned these lessons doesn't mean I've necessarily applied them to my life. It's a lot easier said than done, a lot of these things. But I'm super excited. I just compiled this whole list and I kept getting more and more ideas, and life has definitely been up and down for me, as it has for a lot of people in their early 20s. So I'm just super excited to let you know what I've learned along the way. So let's get started. Okay, so in no particular order, I'm going to start with try not to compare your life journey with anyone else's. Comparison is something that I really struggle with. I really read into a lot of things that people post, when in reality, those are the highlight reels, and where you are in your life is where you're supposed to be. And you can't compare your journey to someone else's because everyone has their own story written out for them. That's what I believe anyway. I don't think anybody is as happy as they portray to be on the internet. So really be careful with how much social media you take in day to day, and know that most of the things that are being posted are highlight reels. They are taken out of the whole day and posting the best part. I have so many examples of this on my own Instagram where I had the worst day, or I made so many mistakes, or to get the photo that I posted, it took me hours and blood, sweat, and tears went into it. But all that people see is that I'm smiling, I look good from that angle, everything is great. Nobody knows the behind the scenes, so try not to compare yourself to others. You are worthy and you are amazing just the way that you are. You are the only person that can make you do anything. This is a really huge lesson I've learned, that unless I fully want to do something, no matter the amount of support or push in that direction, or no matter the importance of the person who's telling me that I should go for it or should change something, if I don't want to, it's not going to happen. I think this is especially important for mental health. If you don't want the help, then you're not going to get it, and no one can force you to get that help. And it's okay if you don't want the help, because other people may think you need something, but they don't know what's best for you. You know what's best for you. So always try and listen to your gut. Recently, I've had some health issues, problems with my immune system, and I realized that if I don't do something about it, it's not going to end well. And so finally, I want to take control of my physical health. And now that I've decided I want to do that, I'm committing and consistently working on it. But I have been told for years to do something about my physical health, and I just didn't care. Nobody was going to motivate me except for me. Girl, no one is judging you. You are judging you. This is one of the lessons that I have still yet to accept. I really struggle with social anxiety and overthinking, and I am just always convinced that people are judging me, what I wear, what I say, what I do. But at the end of the day, that person in the grocery store is not going to remember you and whatever mistake you think you did in front of them. Like, I struggle to the point where if it takes me too long to rip a plastic bag, you know, the ones in the fruit section, there's some bags hanging. If I believe it took me too long and I'm holding up the person behind me or something, that will eat away at me for the entire day, maybe even several days after that. But that person probably wasn't waiting, probably didn't care, didn't notice. And that is so important to always remind yourself that you are making a bigger deal out of it than it really is. So if you struggle with anxiety, remember the spotlight effect. There was a study done of some people who wore an embarrassing t-shirt and had to walk through a lecture, like a big lecture hall, in that shirt. And they had to, prior to the experiment and afterwards, predict how many people they think noticed that they were in that embarrassing shirt. And they thought like 80% of the people were going to notice. And there was like 5 people who turned around and looked at the shirt they were wearing. in a huge lecture hall of over 100 people. You are doing so much better than you think you are. You have so much potential, and you are not embarrassing. Everyone goes through similar struggles. So by this lesson, I mean, of course, we all have our own life story, our own problems, but a lot of the time we struggle with similar things, and just try and remind yourself that you're not alone. For example, I had to get tested for COVID because I had strep throat, but I needed to make sure I was negative for COVID. And to find this testing warehouse, it was such a struggle, and I didn't know where to turn, and the signs were everywhere, and it was a little bit stressful. And as I was driving out of the testing area, I see this woman who's driving super slow, keeps looking down, she doesn't know where she's going, and I chuckle to myself because I realized she's going through the same thing I just went through, looking for this testing site. And I just thought about the fact that a lot of the time we're not honest with one another. When I meet up with someone, especially in downtown, you go up to each other and you're like, hey, did you find everything okay? And you're like, yeah, totally fine. Like, so happy to see you. But it's never, hey, I really struggled to find parking. Oh my gosh, so did I. I thought I was alone. No, like it took me so long. I'm sorry I wasn't responding because I couldn't find parking to save my life. I think if people were a bit more transparent that they're struggling with these day-to-day things, people would understand that they're not alone in a lot of these struggles they face. I don't care how old you are. Everyone has bad days.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Learning how to say no will come in handy. I recently have learned how to say no, thank you, and not feel guilty about it. Because sometimes you have to say no because you are looking out for yourself. That is not selfish. That is you knowing how much you can take right now and what may be toxic for you in that moment. So learning how to say no has been a lifesaver for me. I have a little note that says, is TikTok a good waste of my time? Oh, a good use of my time. TikTok is a good use of your time. Sometimes it's good to have low expectations. I'm a little bit on the fence about this one, but you know the saying that if you have low expectations, you could never get upset, because if it was better than you were expecting, then you're happy, and if it was worse, then you don't really care because you weren't expecting much anyway, and if it was meh, then that's what you were going into it thinking it would be. So if you have low expectations, you're never getting your hopes up, and you can't really ever be hurt or upset. But that's also a scary way to live, with having this block and not looking forward to things. So I'm a little bit on the fence about that one, but it's definitely something I learned. Like if something gets canceled last minute and I didn't get myself too excited for this event, then I'm like, okay, next time. But if I am waiting for this thing to happen all week and I'm hyping myself up, most of the time it gets canceled or something happens and I am devastated. So I would much rather just tell myself I'll be happy either way. Whatever the outcome is, I'll be happy. Like I won't rely solely on this thing that's happening at the end of the week for my happiness, for my motivation to push through the week, because that's also an unhealthy way to live. Anyway, humble yourself. Always remember your privilege. It's okay to have your own problems, but every now and then, take time to reflect on how lucky you are to have a roof over your head and food on the table and clothes on your back. It's okay to cry and be upset about whatever it is you're going through, because it doesn't matter where in the world you live, how much money you have, everyone struggles with something. But to occasionally put into perspective where you are in comparison to someone in a third world country can be an important, humbling moment to have every once in a while. It is okay to take breaks from social media, and it is 100% okay to not have to explain yourself to anyone why it is you're taking a break. If people reach out to you to make sure you're okay, incredible. That is just honestly something that's lacking from the world, is checking in on one another and even calling one another. That's something we rarely do anymore. But then you can be like, yeah, I'm totally okay, just need a little bit of a break. But if people are making you feel bad for leaving them, for not explaining yourself, girl, bye. That toxicity, you don't need that. You can, whenever you want, delete social media for however long you want, and you can always go back, even if it's for a day. If that's what you need, that's what you need, and you do not have to explain yourself to anyone else. Take yourself out on dates. I have learned this lesson, have not applied it quite yet, but I can see why people do this. I've taken myself on one date and it was incredible. But again, that is just giving you that self-love and independence that you have and you thrive in. And it can be a scary thing to just go out on your own, order a table for one, be walking around on your own. But honestly, it is so therapeutic and I highly recommend it.